Sohail, did you already unmute?
I guess. Can you guys hear me?
Okay, perfect. Just making sure you're the only one.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome, Sohail. So I'm just gonna go ahead and read a very short, kind of just a background on Sohail, just in case you guys didn't know. Looking sharp. That's what Bill
Thank
said
you.
in the chat. But so Sohail started his career as a CPA, for those who didn't know, working as an employee of an audit firm called National Futures Association. Sohail opened 2 franchise locations for Jackson Hewitt, which is tax preparation franchise, in 1993. He ultimately grew those 2 locations to over 200 locations nationwide and was named one of the largest franchisees for the whole company. So that's pretty amazing. Throughout his career in Jackson Hewitt, Sohail managed to make investments and partner in a variety of additional retail ventures, including T-Mobile, cell phone repair, check cashing, jewelry stores, water damage repair, and food service. He currently operates his family investment office, which includes a partnership with First Option Mortgage. Sohail brings over 35 years of experience as an owner and manager in heavily regulated business. As an operating partner of First Option, Sohail is involved in directing all aspects of lending activities, including marketing, sales, operations, secondary, loan servicing, and default management. In addition, he provides strategic advisory for executive management and corporate boards and operational aspects of mortgage banking, if I can get that out, ranging from origination to servicing and loss mitigation. So welcome, Sohail. With
Thank you.
all that being said, you can definitely make sure that you have all your questions ready to go at some point, because obviously he can give a lot of insight for you guys. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. So Sohail, when you first wake up, kind of walk us through what your morning routine might look like.
So depending on what day of the week it is, I have a different activity on the weekdays and a different activity on weekends. Uh, Obviously, I need to get ready for the office. That's my morning activity. Uh, and nothing special. I'm like, okay, how can I get ready quick as possible and just get to the office? And how I can sleep as late as possible. I love to sleep, by the way. So that's my weekdays. But on weekend, I basically take my time. I make my breakfast in the morning. I try to eat healthy, so I have my own things. I make things from completely scratch ingredient, and my daughter loves the omelet that I make. She thinks it's the world's best omelet. I don't know whether it is or not. I don't like it as much, but she loves it. So that's kind of like my morning activity.
You said you actually sleep. I thought leaders didn't sleep. I thought that was like a no. No.
Well, I'll tell you this, that sleeping is very important for your health.
Definitely.
And I always preach to everybody, it is important for you to be healthy. And they say that all the healthy people, they do sleep the amount of hour it's needed for their body to recoup. My body takes a little more, so what can I say? But I do a lot more.
All right, and let's go over to the chat. I see a question popped in. Clay asks, the market changes and things go up and down, as we all know. What have you learned about working through changes in the different industries in which you've been a part of through the years?
I'll tell you this, the first industry that I got involved was in a tax industry, and we were going through the introduction of electronic filing. And in that industry, every year, not only the IRS changed its rule about the electronic filing, but there is a lot of changes that is happening in that arena in terms of introduction of new technology, technology not working. And every year uh, all of my employee comes and complain about, the amount of changes that they want to deal with, and they need to learn everything new. And I tell them, like, you know what? This is the reason of our success, that if we stay on the cutting edge and we learn, and the only constant we have a change, and we accept that constant, that every year we're going to have change, we will succeed. So I feel that all the ups and downs in the market is an opportunity. You just need to figure out how can you avail that opportunity, and how can you grow and succeed, and how can you improve yourself with that changing environment. So that's kind of what my 2 cents on ups and down of any of the business, any of the market, which, I love mortgage because it goes through more ups and downs. Actually, tax went through a lot of ups and downs, but mortgage industry goes through ups and downs also. So it's interesting because it's challenging.
All right. So going on to the next question. So, what was the biggest leap of faith that you took regarding your career?
A very good question. I had
Biggest
a
leap of
very,
faith.
I had a very good job, and I went to my father and I said, you know what, Dad, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start my own business. And he was so against it. He's like, you have an amazing job and you're going to quit your amazing job and you're going to start a business. What is the projection? And I said, the projection is I'm not going to make money for 2 years. And he's like, how are you going to pay your bill? I'm like, I have some saving, so I'm going to exhaust that. And he's like, this is the stupidest thing I have ever heard in my life. That you're going to go in a business that is not going to make money for 2 years and you're going to exhaust all of your saving. And at the end of the day, you're going to be out of business. And I'm like, well, I'll see, because, this is the time I can take a chance. I can't take a chance, once I have a wife and kids. And I took that big leap of faith and jumped into a business, quitting my job.
Nice, nice, nice. So, describe your mentor and what did they teach you about yourself and how to succeed?
So,
Or
one thing
mentors.
that I really, really regret is, you know, I had mentor, but kind of like I didn't have a mentor, which was kind of like in the industry or teaching me the business that I'm in. So in my life, I probably made more mistake than anybody else would have made. And mistake was my mentor. Me making mistake, and I always try to make less mistake as possible. But every time I make mistake, I try to make sure I don't make that mistake again. But if I need to name mentor, I have two mentor. One is my father, and one is my wife. I see them. I have learned a lot from them. They have always challenged me. A lot of sometimes they're against me, but they're always support me. So when I almost failed in my business after 2 years when I had no money to pay my bills, I went to my father and I asked him that I need to borrow some money. And he goes, you lost all of your money. Now you're ready to lose mine? I'm like, listen, I'm not here to listen to your lecture. I'm in trouble. Would you help me out? For sure, he did. He did help me out. He lent me the money and he says, what if you lose that? I'm like, listen, if I lose this money, I'm not paying you back. So those were, good supporter. And also, I worked with my father in a business for several years and I learned a lot from him. The most important thing I did that I learned from my father was his confidence. No matter what happened, he was always confident that he's going to turn things around. And he did. And that's what I learned, that no matter what happened, you need to be confident and need to find a way to make things better for yourself and for all those people who are working with you or working for you.
Nice, nice. So yeah, definitely part about being a business owner is finding constant solutions to problems, right? Next question is, what is the most memorable moment that you've had thus far in your career as a leader?
I'll tell you, there is no single memorable moment, but if I have to tell you the memorable moment is actually all of my failures. Whenever I fail, I remember my failures. And I learned so much from those failures that it made me smarter, stronger, and better. And that's why I call all of my failures are my memorable moments.
Nice, nice, nice. And remember, for anyone who's just joining in, if you have any questions for Sohail, just feel free to drop those in the chat window and we will get to them as we can. The next question that I have for you is, how how do you think, but how would your peers or coworkers or teammates or other managing partners even describe your managerial style?
You know what? I'm going to answer the previous question and my memorable moment. And I think when I started my Jackson Hewitt with two location, and you said I was one of the largest franchisee, actually I was the largest franchisee in the country. So when I
Nice.
got the plaque of being number one in the country, that was another memorable moment in addition to my failure, because that was my goal to become number one in city of Chicago, and then number one in the state of Illinois, and then number one in the country. And when I achieved that, it was a very memorable moment. Repeat your last question. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're fine. That's great. Um, Actually, I have a question that piggybacks off of that is, with the fact that you were number one in the whole country, what made you leave Jackson Hewitt?
I'll tell you this. After I became number one, with time, my excitement went away. I was just, I didn't find there's anything more to do. And then I was just managing my business. And then I got bored managing my business. I got bored. I got tired. I was working very hard. And that hard work kind of like, I felt like now I'm working hard because there's no objective, what I want to be. So there was no excitement. And that once the excitement was gone, I start getting tired. I start getting bored. And I said, you know what? Now I'm just gonna I have done whatever I planned to do, and I'm just gonna retire. So actually 11 years ago I retired.
11 years ago, and we're still going, right?
Well, yeah, I came back 2 years ago.
And we couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
But another question, I'll go to the chat real quick, is how has your leadership style changed over time, or has it?
No, like I said, you always learn, as you grow. And I have learned a lot. And I have learned a lot also from my failure. And that has also changed my leadership style, because whenever things doesn't go right, I look back and assess what I have done wrong. And I always take a responsibility of all the failure, that the failure is not because of any of my people, it's just because of me. As a leader, I need to accept the responsibility. And then I figure out what was that I didn't do wrong. The very, very first item, when I failed first time, I realized, you know what, I was not a good manager. And my goal was to become a good manager. And that was constantly, I try to get better and better dealing with people. And I have developed so many more people skill than I had 20, 25 years ago. And I'll tell you this, I still lack some of the people skill. And I like to develop that. I wish, and I'm going to mention the person that is my role model here in that skill set, which is connecting with people, is Alvin Shah. He is amazing in connecting with people. I want to learn from him. That's one of my weakness. So yes, there's a lot of changes. I am much more patient now than I was before. I was always a good trainer. But the patient and dealing with people has gotten much, much better than 25, 30 years ago.
Nice, nice. Um, Another question from the chat is, what is the best business of advice that you've been given that you would say?
You know what? I'll tell you this. A business advice always comes from a person's experience, and there is no no advice that you can call it a good or best business advice because it comes from my experience. I felt that my success depended on me, you know, to be confident at all time that we're going to make things happen, regardless of what it is. So that's one. And in addition to having a confidence, also working hard. I worked very hard in my early time because I was not smart. With time, I learned and I start working smarter than harder. But having a confidence, working hard, and absolutely working smarter are the three simple rules that applies to anyone's success anywhere.
Okay. Um, what are a few strengths that best describe yourself?
So,
Just name a few.
I was I was always a visionary. Visionary means I always saw the future. I always saw what is going to be. And I also always set a goal, which was the most difficult goal for myself. So these are the two strengths that I had was one I saw, and then basically once I visioned it, I put together a plan and then I execute the plan. Whether I reach my goal or not, it doesn't matter. I just set a very high goal. I put together a plan. I put that plan in action and rest, I would leave it up to God, whether he gives me a result or not.
All right. So is there something you wish someone would have told you during your career journey?
So, like I said, in the very beginning, when you asked me about your mentor, I always wish that I had some mentor who would have taught me a lot of things, and I would not have learned a lot of things that I have learned by making mistakes. So, I made a lot more mistakes in my life than I feel I should have made. But every time when I made a mistake, I try not to make the same mistake again. A mentor would have been very helpful, a good mentor, which, I had met a couple mentors, but I really think that I missed a good mentor in my life.
All right. Now, when you changed your industry, which you did a few times in your down the path, what was your biggest challenge other than like financial challenges potentially? What was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome that challenge?
So, you know, the biggest challenge whenever I change the industry is the knowledge. And the way I overcome is my confidence. Because any industry I go into, I believe that I'll go in that industry and I'll make a difference. That is my confidence. And then my biggest challenge is the knowledge. I acquire the knowledge. I have been in many different industry and and basically I have seen success in almost any industry that I went in because I commit my time, I commit my resources, I commit my funding, and and I try to learn as much as I could about that industry to contribute, uh, to make a contribution.
So maybe moving into a little bit more of a not difficult question, but the first time, if there was ever a time, which I'm sure there was, but the first time you had to fire someone, how did that make you feel?
You know what? I never have to fire anybody. I give that person so much of a hard time. That person will quit. Just kidding.
That's usually how it goes, though. That's usually that's
No,
all.
I'll tell you this, that is always a challenge. And 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 like I said, I always plan into the future. So I never had a situation where I need to fire somebody because of industry downturn or lack of business. Because I always a plan like 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, and I kind of see that how things are moving, and I do my hiring, firing accordingly. But there's always a situation where you have a person who's not performing, and you need to let that person go, and it is challenging. And I feel for that person, but at some point I need to make a choice, and I have learned that you'll be better off making a harder choice sooner than later.
All right. Well, I'm going to skip to this other question that kind of can piggyback off of that. How, whether in that situation when you did have to fire somebody or just in general, how do you handle conflict?
You know, one thing that I learned, when I was in ninth grade, I went to my teacher and I had some conflict and I want to discuss that conflict with my teacher. And I was extremely upset. I was uh, a very good student, and I thought that, what, I have a power to get my way with the teacher. And my teacher saw that, I was upset and I want to discuss something. And my teacher told me that, hey, you know what? It's fine. Let's discuss this. Let's discuss this at the end of the day, not now. And after the end of the day, when I went into discussion with my teacher, a lot of my anger, a lot of my frustration, a lot of the things that I had in my head was gone, and I was a much more logical person. And I dissected the issue, and I learned the issue was not as big as I was making it. And that day, I learned that, what this teacher did was he really solved this problem automatically by giving me some time to think about it. And that was one of the lessons that if you're in a conflict situation, you need to take yourself out of the conflict and you need to really think it through to see how can you make sense out of everything that is surrounding you and everything that is surrounding your whoever the other person is, and how can you solve their problem which makes both party happy. So that's kind of like the approach I take.
Nice, nice. Now, let's go to a lighter question. How do you relax or have fun outside of the trips I see on your stories all the time? No. Vacation.
So I'll tell you this. A long time ago, I used to watch news when I had a free time. And I told somebody that, the way I relax is watching the news. So I spent like 2 hours watching all the news of all the world, everywhere, stock market, everything. And he goes, well, doesn't this wire you up and have a hard time sleeping? I'm like, no, I don't have a hard time sleeping. So I did that a long time ago, but you know what? There are a lot of things that I do. I love activities. I love, spending time with my family. Yeah, I love playing ping pong
Mm.
as a pastime. I'm not playing it a lot, and I like to be outdoor, so I do a lot of outdoor activity, like a walking or just hanging out with people. So that's kind of like my relaxation.
All right. And just for the everyone else, we are coming down on time here. So if you have any last minute questions that you've been holding on to, now would be the time to drop it in the chat. Now, Sohail, speaking of a little fun, do you believe in work-life balance? And I'll add to that and just say, and what does that mean for you? So do you believe in work-life balance, and what does that look like, or what does that mean to you?
No, I think it's extremely important. It's pretty much like you need to sleep at night to provide a rest to your body so you can be functional during the daytime. That exactly same theory applies in your work-life balance. You need to have a good time to enjoy the hard work that you're doing when you're working, because that is actually that the time that you're spending with your family or at your home or doing something that enjoys, it powers you up like a sleep to do better when you're at work. So that's kind of how I think that, you know what, we need to divide our life into three parts. One, sleeping. Second, working. Third, enjoying.
Nice, nice, nice. And I'll wrap it up with this last question if no one else has anything, is who would you dedicate your success to?
So I will actually dedicate my success to my two mentors, which is my father and my wife. I think they have played a very crucial role in my life. I have learned a lot of things from my father working with him for several years and also watching him, the way he acts, the way he behaves, and then way he deals with other people. And very similarly, I have learned a lot from my wife. I hear him all the time by the way. So by listening a lot to her and with all of her actions. So those are two of my mentors that I learned a lot from.
Well, all right. We have reached our 2:30 mark. So thank you guys for everyone who has tuned in today. Thank you, Sohail, for participating and offering us some words of advice and spending some time with us today. So that will conclude our Lead 360 for today. Make sure you guys stay tuned for announcements for the next one. And later this week, be on the lookout for MP3 and Greet.
Hey, thank you everybody for listening
Thank
to
you.
me patiently.
Y'all have a good day.
Uh-huh. Good day.